What's going on, y'all? It's your boy J.H. Gibbons here,
And as we'll see.
and welcome to yet another episode of the Acromis podcast. This is episode number 18. 18, man. How does it feel to be yet again in person? How does that feel, man?
It's refreshing to not have to only like look at a screen, but have someone right beside me, man. So I appreciate you, man. Appreciate
Always,
you.
always, brother. I knew we had to really get this going, man.
Yeah.
We had to get with each other so that this can flow in a way that it feels even more organic than it already did. So, I'm glad we made this switch. I'm glad we were able to carve out times in our hectic, busy schedule to bring you guys some gems as we do every single Sunday.
Mhm.
Um, what a week, man. I'm so tongue tied about this week because I mean my brain is already fried, but man, rest in peace, Paul Mooney, man. That really came out of nowhere. He's one of our generation's most real, raw comedians, man. He some of the things he said in the past. I mean, even watching him on the Dave Chappelle show, it was just a fantastic experience to be able to watch that and
Mhm.
hear what he's able to say and some of the buttons he pushes and some of the truth that he tells a lot of people aren't comfortable with because it's raw.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, rest in peace, Paul Mooney, man. What a week it has been.
hmm
Yeah,
Rest in
how's
peace.
this week for you, man?
Um, Same. It's just this week has been a grind.
Mm,
Um, you have those moments, you have those times where it's just you just kind of get caught up in life events and you just
yep.
working through them. So it's just been that kind of a week
Mm.
for me personally, and ready to recharge. And we're looking forward to this moment so we can enjoy it and uh, have fun and just prepare for what's next.
Yeah, I mean, trying to prepare for what's next is always something that's very tough to do, especially if you're struggling to get through what is there,
Mhm.
what is present. And today when we're jumping into how to actually overcome grief, overcome a situation that's so traumatic in your life that you feel stuck, you feel abandoned, you feel naked. You don't really feel yourself. You don't feel like you used to. It's a whole different feeling. It's an uncomfortable feeling. And so today, because the Acromis podcast, it's such an action based, solution based podcast. We wanted to be able to take a step back, get away from some of the funny jokes that we typically tell, and try to take an approach to this that'll help those who are going through something traumatic and they just don't know how to get past it.
Mhm.
So today, I mean, let's really just dive into it, man, because I know there's a lot to cover. Um, so just trying to define grief. Like what does that look like? I know we know how you get there. It's from a traumatic situation that goes on in your life. It can come from a death in the family, a death of a loved one, divorce, something that has happened in your life that is very traumatic, that it's really hard to get past. What does that grief kind of look like for you?
Um, ooh. So yeah, this is good. We're gonna really get into this one, guys.
Yeah.
Um, as always, I try to be as transparent as I can. So to be able to answer that, I'd have to look at it and assess it from my now.
Mhm.
And I'd say like in the last few weeks, and this week in particular, just passing week has been a trying one
Mhm.
from a mental aspect
Okay.
where it's like what we're talking about just falls in line with it personally,
Mhm.
even with someone who's doing the work properly, developing tools to love myself,
Mhm.
and to be able to recognize when I'm having these sort of adversities that I have to work through, such as
Mhm.
grief.
Okay.
With that being said, there's many forms of grief that we know, but I think we have to be able to identify the triggers
Mhm.
of what causes those traumatic relapses in your state of mind.
Okay.
I know for me, it's a thing where you have those moments where there are triggers, and personally, I've had quite a bit of them this week for different reasons.
Mhm.
But I've been relying in my development. not just my strength
Right.
to endure, but to be proactive and trying to figure out how to go about dealing with these triggers, and um, making sure that I'm in my truth to identify them for what they are,
Right.
to grow through them, and to apply like my affirmations, which I use are like tools to really kind of help me address these things. And right now, the one of my affirmations is protect your state of being, which has really been a big part of what I've been doing this week
Mm,
as well. So I think in these instances, grief is, we know it to be a mental thing where you're, a lot of the times if you're experiencing, you're in mourning of something.
mm,
And what I've come to realize is that it's a continuation, and I think a lot of people make the error of assuming that you're over and done with something, where
mm,
it's always going to be a part of you,
right.
whatever that grief is.
So what happens when you're going, let's take it from the beginning, right? Let's
Hmm.
say something happens in your life that is just, it's traumatic. It takes over your emotional state, and you're trying to get through with that. So do you think people typically start in a state of denial, or maybe when something happens you're more of like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening to me. What's going on? How am I supposed to approach this? You're kind of shocked when it first happens, because you don't really know how to deal with it. So what does that sort of denial look like?
Um, just that you are in awe of your reality.
Hmm.
You don't know exactly if what's happening,
Mm,
and as you're living it, you're trying to make sense of it, and those lines get blurred because you just
mm,
don't know what's the right direction um in those earlier stages of it.
mm,
And some people would sometimes the traumatic experiences of that grief that you're going through,
mm,
a lot of people tend to want to run away from it, because then that requires them to face themselves,
mm.
to seek the truth in through that grief as to
Right.
why you feel that way. And I think that's something to keep in mind.
Okay. What does running away look like in terms of grief? Is it more of you don't want to face the situation? Is that sort of what that looks like, what running away would look like? It's just not being able to face it.
I I think sometimes in some ways it's deeper than that. I
Okay.
think some people want to face it, but their mental capacity, maybe they may not be able to handle it.
Mm,
And with this being the month of mental health
that
awareness,
is true.
I think this is really big.
Mm,
It's important to me, because I'm someone that resonates with that.
right.
I live with grief. I've lived through traumatic experiences that I still carry with me,
Mm,
and I'm trying to learn how to work through that as I go along.
right.
But the difference for me is that I'm not running from it.
Mm,
I take the emotions as they are, but I'm being mindful for those who acknowledges that the grief is there, or
mm,
whatever trauma they experience, emotional pain.
mm,
Sometimes it's so severe that they're not ready to deal with it. And I think that's something that people have to be understanding to, especially if you're at a place in your healing, to recognize when someone else is not at a point in their healing
mm,
where they're ready to address that grief. They're ready to address that hurt. And if we care about them as much as we say we do,
mm,
we support them enough to be there, that is healthy enough for us to do so when they are ready to face their truth, if ever they're ready to face their truth.
mm. So when, let's say, before
Mhm,
they face their truth, those some of those stages that they go through,
mhm,
I would think it's just something that's difficult to do without a support system around you.
mhm,
If they don't understand exactly, these new feelings that are going on in their body or their mind, and they're looking for other outlets to kind of take their mind off of what's happening. Like after that denial, there's this sort of anger, and sometimes it doesn't come out and like physical rage or just being upset with the world, but it's like a deeper anger. It's kind of like you're frustrated with yourself,
mhm,
or you're of course you're upset with the situation, but there's some sort of blaming that may happen within you. It's like, well, maybe I should have done this better. If it's a loss of a loved one, maybe I should have been around more, and you get so upset that you weren't. that it seems like this is something that people tend to deal with when they are grieving. Um, but I think as the stages go through, they finally get to a point where they are able to somewhat understand what they're going through. They're able to sit there with their thoughts and really assess the situation. And I think through time it does help, though of course, you never fully get past it. It's like you get to a point where you're sort of, I want to say, you're depressed, or you're in this state of, well, I don't know what else to do anymore. I've reached my breaking point. I've already snapped. There's just nothing left of me. How does somebody who's going through that particular stage of depression, like, how do they get to the next stage of acceptance? Is it something where they're like, well, I've completely given up all hope. I guess my next stage is just to move forward and live life? Or is it something that's deeper where they literally have to find who they are and accept who they are becoming in order to grow?
Yeah, I mean, just as you worded it,
Mm,
again, I can only that was me.
right.
That is me. Um, as I work through those things where I was at the phase of anger,
Mm,
it had to do more about my need for perfection through my trauma, through my upbringing, to feel like that I was perfect because I felt like I wasn't enough.
mm,
So in being able to address that and to come to my truth and in those instances, in those moments, I recall vividly this one time where I just felt so overwhelmed with the emotions of everything
mm,
as I was going through my grief at that point. And when I remember looking in the mirror to myself, and then I was like, I remember saying, "I'm not okay.
mm,
I'm not okay."
mm.
And the emotions flowed, and it just was like, and it just hit me. I said, "Oh my God, I'm not okay."
Would you consider that acceptance?
That was a part of acceptance for
Okay.
sure, but it was in the moment of my anger
Mm,
where I had to let that truth go,
mm,
because it was just eating me up too
mm,
much, and I recognized what was happening. I just didn't know how to label it, to identify in that moment what that part of my grief was happening, where I was
mm.
snapping on people.
Oh, wow.
I was a bit resentful,
Mm,
especially with parts of my life, at that point, after you had a failed marriage,
mm,
and I had someone particular say to me at that point in time, they said something to me about, well, Will, how do you feel like you had like a whole life that's just gone?
mm,
And I hadn't thought about it at that point until
mm,
until they said it to me. I had brushed it off because I just wanted to be done with certain parts. And when I'd heard it, it triggered a lot of the hurt that was still there for
mm,
different reasons.
mm.
Where the anger of it, because I have children,
Right.
and I felt like I failed them.
Mm.
I felt like I failed me.
How so? How so? How did you feel
Um,
as though you failed your children in this scenario?
well, I like to think most people, when you say I do, you tend to mean for better or for worse.
Mm,
And you hold to your vows for what you committed for to that individual, and to God, or to whatever your belief is,
mm,
and more importantly to yourself. Means my kids are everything to me. So um, and I've my traumas prior to that
mm,
with certain events. Um, I I felt like I wanted to just do things the right way, and I felt like I wanted to give them a connection in a way that I had observed from my parents and things that happened, and I just wanted to give them that life is what I envisioned it. I painted the picture on,
mm,
but I didn't have a canvas to put it on, and I
mm.
didn't realize it. I needed my partner to be able to do that with me. And
Right.
when you get to a point where you have different directions, and things happen, for me, through I can't speak on that person. I can only
Mm,
speak on me. But
right.
through my trauma and
Right.
what I had experienced, it just was tough because, again, my need for perfection was something that was a will thing. at the end of the day. So that part of it was hard to accept. And honestly, at times I still work through that now to just say, hey, you know what, whatever happened wasn't your fault. It wasn't on you.
Right.
You did the best you could. You couldn't control things. But at the end of the day, your kids love you and they're okay. They're going to be okay. Because in these moments, like, and I know I don't want to just subject it to just this part, but like I can only relate to my grief in certain parts that I work through and I'm working through where those are the hardest moments to face, especially when you're co-parenting. And you, in my instance, in a lot of cases, I think it's a bit misconstrued about the concept of fathers, where sometimes we're not viewed equally with the amount of love we give out to our children as a mother would. And for me, I take that personally because, when you come from a place where love is so vital and important to you and you view it from a different way, and the true source of unconditional love is that you're getting from what you created, like that just hits different as a father. So for me, I don't take it lightly. And in those instances, they are my joy, part of my joy, but I've also learned to love me, but they're part of my joy. And it's hard when I don't have them around me. That part of it is hard, and then I have to fight and combat grief. So all of what we're discussing now about grief, that's what I meant when I say in some instances it's going to be continuous, because there is a form of loss. There's a form of mourning of something that's not anymore, which is what ultimately leads to that grief, and how you deal with it is very important. So I think like keys to that is like affirmations. That's been really helpful for me, like really helpful through this process. And I think that's something to definitely mention, especially during this time of mental health awareness this month. Like it's really big.
Right. I mean, now, and I know you said that you did talk about anger. You talked about how it affected you and those around you.
Yeah.
Does that disappear quickly? Does that anger, that pain disappear quickly if you ignore it? Like, do you think it's safe to ignore that?
I don't think it's safe to ignore it.
Okay.
You have to acknowledge it if you want to go in a direction of growth and healing. But you also have to try to work on methods that's going to help you address it, so that you don't implode. Because there was a point where I through the years of dealing with certain things, like I didn't address it. That to be the case. I didn't address those things, and it was killing me. There was even a point where, I don't know if you remember, I've reached out to you and I was not in the best shape. And I just told you, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can continue doing. I feel like I'm dying. I feel like I can't breathe. And when you get to those places, thank God for me, I had people who I can depend on as a support system.
That's absolutely right.
Because to be honest with you, if I didn't have that, I don't know where I'd be right now, especially through the events that I've experienced in recent years.
Right.
Because it changes you. Grief changes you for one way or the others. But you do know that, like, like Jay, like you said, where like the grief itself, and like how do you don't to not run from that. Like I think it's important to not run, to acknowledge it, and find the tools to tame it, like a matador. Like find the tools that's going to allow you to tame it, and to gauge that meter, to keep control over it, because it's gonna be there. Like anything in life, we all have temperaments, so something's gonna bound to make us mad. I don't care who you are.
It's just like a bad habit, man. They don't ever disappear. You can replace them with something, but that bad habit's always going to be there.
And that's what I hear people say all the time with grief.
Yep.
Oh, I'm over it. Or you hear and people talking about stories and instances of healing. I'm healed. No, you're never complete. I'm sorry. As long as you're
always going to be there.
Right.
There's always an inkling of it. It's always going to be there.
And it's only a matter of one word or one instance or a trigger.
And it's just like that.
Yep.
It hits you like a ton of bricks.
So to answer your question, I don't think you should run from it.
Okay.
Develop it, and it requires a certain level of truth to yourself.
Sure.
To develop tools to reach out to reach out in ways to how to check that. If you need help with people that that are a good part of a support system, or people that you think would be a good part of your support system, definitely try to reach out to them. I can say from my truth, it wasn't until those instances I had to break my ego in me to say, you know what, let me reach out to people to let them know I'm hurting.
Yeah.
Because if I don't do this, I might harm myself.
Yeah.
And if I do that to myself, my kids, like I'm worth more than that. I got to be worth
Yeah.
more than that. And other
Yeah.
people see it in you before you do. So in those instances, I'm just grateful for that. But I
Mhm.
realize affirmations for me is one big tool to kind of
Mm.
help me. And then in those instances, when affirmations is not enough, I do reach out to my support system. Like,
Right.
outside of this, I've been talking to Jay about certain things that I'm
Right.
I'm dealing with,
Yep.
and I'm trying to work through those emotions,
Yep.
even as we're doing this now.
Mhm.
So it's like it's real, and even no matter how much work you're doing, you got to be honest with yourself. You got to be conscious in it,
Right.
and you got to do the work. So don't run from it. Otherwise, you may implode. You may hurt someone else.
Mhm.
Jay, you may hurt someone else, and
Yep.
that's not what you want to do. Albeit physical, verbal,
Yeah.
emotional. Like, there's so many instances that happens because what we're dealing with in the moment, and
Right.
we just forget to realize we matter. So we got to treat us right first,
Mhm.
and assess whatever that is, and find out if that's something that's really going to cause you a physical trauma,
Mm.
or is this just emotional, something that you can grow to work through time with your thought process to kind of tame that
Right.
emotion.
Right. And I think, with time, I think that's the only way that you can truly tame that emotion and learn how to deal with it and move forward with it. I think, especially from the male's perspective, we're always looked at as this sort of macho being where, we don't cry, we don't even laugh, we're just stone faced all the time. We don't show those sort of emotions. But I think in a scenario when it comes to grief, it's important to do so. I think the whole, be strong in the face of a loss or in the face of a traumatic situation, I don't think it is the same. I don't think you look at it the same as you would, somebody who's physically strong or somebody who doesn't cry or anything like that. I feel as though that shows strength, that you're able to maneuver yourself emotionally without any sort of form of trying to suppress that type of energy that's affecting you. You're able to deal with it, you're able to take it in, you're able to express yourself, you're able to reach out to those who care about you and you care about, to let them know what you're going through and say, I need help because of XYZ. And I believe that takes a ton of strength. I think it takes a ton of heart. It takes you being vulnerable, being uncomfortable, and being able to realize that, man, something's just not right with me, and I need help desperately to fix that. Now, there are people who are going through that stage, and they aren't yet comfortable to express that. So what they do is they suppress it, they keep it with them, and even if it's something that happened years ago in their childhood, you still see remnants of that pain in their adulthood, right? I mean, as you stated before, it doesn't go away. It's always there. And it comes out in an even worse light if you don't do anything to deal with it, if you don't do anything to try to overcome it. Not only is it suppressed, but there's so much anger and energy around that when it does come out, you see that anger. You see that frustration. You see personalities that you weren't used to seeing before, and people that you thought you knew. So I gotta say that I think the strength comes from those who are willing to acknowledge what they're going through and reach out for help, reach out to your friend, to your network, to your friends, to professional counselors. You reach out to somebody who can help you, who can advise you and help you move through it the proper way, so that this isn't something that you're dealing with in the same stage 20, 30 years from now. You'll always be dealing with it, but you don't want to be in that same anger stage that you've always been,
Mhm.
because it's not healthy. You destroy lives around you, destroy circles around you. And it's just, there's so many different ways and better ways to deal with that. So when you hear out there, moving on really means that you're completely over the grief. That's not the case. Again, you're never completely over it,
No.
but you learn to accept what is, and you learn to grow with it. You learn to live with it, and be able to do something, create this sort of, it's like, I don't want to call it a strategy, but it's something that you create to be able to deal with that particular traumatic situation, because people people go through different ones, right? It's not just one particular one. It might, it may be a loss of a loved one, it may be divorce, it may be something entirely different. So however you're able to deal with that is how you deal with it. But it's absolutely important that you're not stuck in the first two stages of grief. It's important that you get to that acceptance stage to be able to move on with your life, knowing that this is still there. You're still able to acknowledge it, but you know how to deal with it better because you've been through those stages.
Yeah.
So I mean, in terms of really overcoming grief, though, I know we briefly touched on it, but let's
Hmm.
kind of dive in.
Okay.
So in order to really overcome it, I firmly believe that you have to acknowledge the pain that's there, right? You have to acknowledge the pain that you're going through is something that you're going through. I think it's kin to building a healthy habit, right? If you have a bad habit of of eating unhealthy, or maybe you're a heavy smoker, whatever it is that you're dealing with that is a bad habit, you have to acknowledge that bad habit. Same thing with grief. You have to acknowledge that the pain is there, and you have to discuss with yourself or with others even
Yeah.
why that pain is there. What is that pain? What is that pain actually? Why did it manifest itself? What's going on within me that is making this pain as real and tough to deal with as it is? Do you agree with that, man?
Yeah. I mean, 100%.
Okay.
Like that's really what it is. And I think from experience, as you're dealing with it, you
Mm,
you have to, if you're in your truth enough, you assess that, what's happening to you is you're growing, um, whether you choose to realize that or not. And it's okay to not have the answer. It's okay to feel how you feel. It's
right.
okay to let those emotions, whatever it is, flow. Especially to men out here. Like
Mm,
it's all right to you got to tap into a deeper part of yourself so that you can be a better you for you. Because it isn't easy, and you have to really know that you're changing. We all
mm.
change. So even with grief, like that's where you really got to be cautious,
Yeah.
because it can lead you to that depressiveness of like feeling just stuck,
Hmm.
and then you are in this endless loophole that sometimes people just don't come out
Right.
because they just don't know how.
How
Eh,
how do you know that you're stuck though? Like what, it's I don't know if you can feel it physically, but how do you know that you're stuck emotionally? Do you see yourself going through certain cycles? Are you having issues trying to get to another level where you believe you would be better off? Like what does
what
that
does that look like?
stuck yeah, what does that stuck look like?
It feels like purgatory.
Mm,
I've been there. um
mm,
it's it's a feeling where sleeping hurts just as much as being awake,
mm,
and you can't tell the difference between your reality,
mm,
and you are in this place where you just feel like you're in pure hell. Sometimes I'm gonna tell you from experience, I've had a lot of different injuries and a lot of pains,
mm,
but the traumatic experiences and emotional pains are what I feel hurt the most,
mhm.
and they still do.
Yeah,
Um, because there's no element to give you the patch what you feel here and what's going on here.
that's very true.
So you have to create that for yourself, and you have to accept it in yourself to say, hey, I need change. I need something has to give, because I can't be like this forever.
Yep.
Like, because if you think that way, and that you feel like that's your forever, you're gonna want to end that, and that is not ideal. That is
Mhm,
not where you want to go in your headspace.
mhm,
But from my experiences, that's what it looks like. So for me, this is why I've worked so hard to put these affirmations and put these things in place. Once I recognized that was happening, where I was in that
mhm.
part, like, Jay, you know how I was there. I was in a bad place. I was a wreck.
So you've had
I,
those thoughts of I just don't want to be here anymore.
absolutely. I've
Mm,
had those moments where um my worth of not knowing who I was at all, and just
mm,
kind of feeling like really maybe I was just better not here, because
mm,
when you feel like you're in a place where the goodness in you is just not enough in life, you just feel like that part of you just zapped,
mm,
and you feel so small.
Wow.
and like a fly on the wall.
Hmm.
And you think that, and you think like, you know what, that's it. I done. I'll check out. And it's in those moments where you gotta do the most fighting.
Hmm. Is that what keeps you going? Knowing that you have to do the fight, knowing that there are others out here who depend on you and care for you and love you and want the best of you, does that truly keep you going?
When I realized that I was in those voids,
Mm,
yeah, that the thought of, I'm trying to get emotional, but thought of my kids.
mm, mm,
My
yeah,
kids, mm,
mm, yeah, mm,
my kids.
mm,
So
yep,
you gotta give me a
yep,
second.
yep. I completely understand. And I know the support from loved ones, including your kids, friends, family, I know that keeps you going. I know it keeps somebody out there who is now dealing with a scenario or scenarios from the past where they're still trying to heal. They're still pushing towards healing. It's important that you know that there are people out there who love you, who care for you, who want the best for you. They want you to thrive. They want you to succeed, and you'll know who those people are when you're going through the worst part of your life. And those people will not leave your side. They'll be there even when times get tough. They'll make time for in their lives where time doesn't exist, because it's just that damn important for people to realize that you're just that damn worth it. So when you get to that point of trying to overcome that pain that you've had in the past, to overcome that grief, just know that the support from loved ones is just always going to be here, and it's that real support, man, is the one that's overpowering for you, because you truly realize exactly who you are, who you're supposed to be, where you're supposed to go. And it's a beautiful feeling when you get that. It's a beautiful light that you see at the end of the tunnel of this dark time that you're going through. So it's important that you understand that there are people out there who care, who love you, who want to see you thrive, who want to see you succeed, and keep those people close to you. Um, I think on those same lines, it's important that you understand how to support yourself by taking care of yourself physically and spiritually. Because dealing with something like grief, it takes such an emotional, mental toll on you. It's important that you don't stay in those first two stages of denial and anger, and you use that and you take it out on your own body. Your body's a temple, man. It's a vessel that carries your soul, and it's important that you feed it with great things. Just as you feed your body and you feed your mind with positive affirmations, you feed your spirit with meditation and anything that allows your spirit to grow. It's vital that you take care of your physical being. It's vital that whether it's eating healthy, whether it's running, whether it's lifting, whatever it is that allows you to continue to deal with this grief in a positive manner. um, I suggest that you continue to push that to the forefront, and all those bad habits that you have, you push it aside, you replace them with those good ones. Because at the end of the day, you will continue to grow within the acceptance, though it never gets easier. It never gets easier to cope with that same situation, but it gets easier to be able to move forward and live with that same thing. So it's important that you continue to build healthy habits for coping with these scenarios that you go through. That's the best advice we can give you in terms of getting over that grief. Again, it's not going to be something that fully disappears, but if you understand what it looks like, what it feels like, what it smells like, and you know how to live with it and maneuver with it, and allow yourself to become stronger, knowing that that is now part of your own story. I think it's definitely possible to move forward.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. Like we were saying, like affirmations and just kind of holding on to things that work for you is so important. Like as these moments happen, man. You're human. You're gonna have those raw emotions, and how you deal with them in those moments is gonna make all the difference. Um, and for me, like I said before, my affirmations, man, like, I say it to myself all the time. I say it in the moments that I need it. And I pull from them the ones that I need in my moments that help me in those moments of grief or of, trauma triggers or things like that. Because, your mental, to me, look, I work out all the time. I'm in, I would say, peak condition right now in my life that I've ever been. But the mental and spiritual aspect is more important to me now, because I can't maintain that part of me if I don't have those things in check. I'll share something with you, Jay, that I didn't even share. I haven't said anything.
Okay.
And, I didn't know if I'd even say, I even thought of on it. But
Sure.
I had a moment where there was an event that was happening for someone. So someone asked me to stop to get them, some beer and to get them some wine. While I do, we go out and we get like a beer or something like that, wine and that sort of instance of what it was, I try to stay away from because like it's a trigger. So, in the midst of me having what I was dealing with this week, I got home late one night and I pulled a glass. It was there because like what happened was the event didn't even happen. So it was there. I couldn't find a receipt to return it. And I just left it there. And I was just like, whatever. But I was just
Sure.
not my best self. And I remember, my kids weren't there. So I pulled a drink and I took it upstairs and I looked at it and I just was I was in my bathroom and, I don't know. In that moment is where I really had to pull for my affirmation because I was like, well, what is your purpose for wanting to do this right now? Like, is it because of what you're dealing with? Is that what's happening? Like, you're in a tough place. You've been through worse. You got this. So I said my affirmations to myself in the mirror as I was there. And I said it as much as I needed to say it until I recognized what was happening. To know that, okay, yeah, you're feeling how you feel, but this is transitional as we had discussed some grief or whatever else.
Right.
And for my affirmations, I don't know if I shared them with you. Strengthen the body, focus your mind and spirit, trust in your faith, love yourself first because you matter. Protect your state of being, speak it into existence, believe it and repeat it. And I kept reciting that to myself and I looked at it. And in those moments, what was happening was it was a trigger. It was a trigger for me. And it was a trigger at a timing that I didn't need to see what I saw. So I was like, damn it. And I was like, it's been like more than a year since I had that problem. So it was like, okay, I grabbed it and as I'm saying affirmations, I felt like, you know what, I take ownership and power of this. So I said to myself, you know what? To hell with it. Fuck it. This has to go. And I made a conscious choice. I will this is gonna happen. And I don't know where that's gonna take me mentally and what I've been doing with myself, or I'm gonna get my ass up and work out in the morning. I'm gonna use my methods of how I've been dealing with what I'm dealing with, and I'm gonna go get it. And I dumped it out, and I went right to sleep. And I woke up in the morning early, and I said, "Let's get it. Let's get back to it. Let's get back to being you." Because in that moment, it was just a tough time to be in a state of place where you feel like you're alone inward, because you're gonna have those moments, support system, whatever, and that's why it's important to create these methods, because you have those times where you feel like you can't reach out, and that was one of those moments where I felt like, I know I could have reached out to you, but I felt like I couldn't in that moment. I had to work through that, and I worked through it, and I'm happy that I didn't do it. I'm so thankful because when it was all said and done, even though I'm still working through certain emotions, certain things, I'm stronger than that. At this point, I won this fight, and that's how you have to look at it.
Yeah.
And it came back to me realizing I'm a fighter. Like you asked me earlier, and I couldn't get it out.
Yeah.
That void and what that's like and what that feels like. And in those moments where I was lost and I feel like I was just floating through this abyss,
Mm,
I, I, I fought all my life.
mm,
Like not just like physically, you know what I
right.
mean? I've had a lot of unnecessary scraps, but yeah, growing up with how I grew up, where I grew up, it
Mm,
was, an unfortunate part of it. That's not like to my being how I am,
right.
but fighting in general, just in life, as to just that's where my need for profession came from. Always having to prove myself
Mm,
in one way or other, to the point to where I just didn't believe what anyone's thought or felt about me, how I
mm,
look physically or how I feel inward. And I just felt like I wasn't enough in the darkest of places. And I just said, William, you fight. You
mhm,
got to fight. You got to fucking fight because your
mm,
life depends on this.
yeah.
Like we don't get no do over. So
No.
now I don't take it granted for time that I have with anyone
Mm,
because I understand the importance of how that could just go. Look, I have relatives that's taken their lives.
yeah.
One of my best friends, that happened to him. That changed me completely because I felt like I wasn't there enough to understand what he was going through, even though I
Mm,
was going through things too in my life that I could resonate with when I hit that void, like, oh shit, this is what that's like.
right.
Oh man, what am I going to do? And for me, in my journey, I had to fight
Mm,
because there's no other way. There is no other option.
right.
So earlier this week, that's what I did. I had to
Wow.
fight. I fought it.
Wow.
And I didn't say anything to you.
Right.
But it's just those moments where since the subject is on grief
Mhm,
and it's real, I mean, as you can see, it's very real. Like it lives with you, it's a part of you.
mhm.
And I just want you guys to understand and know that from Jay and me, like it's not always fun and
No,
giggles.
it's
It's
not.
not always a joy, a smile on your face. Sometimes you smile, but there's pain behind those eyes from experiences. And I
Yeah,
know everyone experiences that too, but
absolutely.
you should find growth through that too in those moments
Mhm,
because you appreciate yourself. You appreciate you more, which is
right.
why we say you matter.
Mhm,
Love yourself because you're so damn worth it. Because that's what I had to find for myself. So it helps me to work through these things. And I'm not even sure if we even and to think about it, address like the bargaining side of it with
mm,
yourself, like
yeah,
to,
yeah.
I don't even know if we touch base on that
Mhm,
to say like, I think that's part of like running away from it or like in that instance, what I was doing, what I almost did
mm,
was to give a temporary replacement to
mm.
avoid that emotion because I was not my best self.
So it's almost like if I try this, then it'll be fine because XYZ.
Hmm.
Were you that's what you were trying to tell yourself? Like
Hmm.
if I was to take this class, it's just one class. I'm not gonna have any more.
Hmm.
After this, I'll be able to go back to doing whatever I was and dealing with it the right way. But it seemed like in that instance when you're bargaining with yourself, I'd noticed two things, and I mean, you said it. One, you had the strength to know that there was a bad habit that existed before, and that you weren't going to fall victim to the same habit. And so, for me, that shows a ton of strength. But two, you can see that even if you replace a habit, it never fully disappears.
Hmm.
You said that was a year, right? There's been a
It's been
year since that
over
time.
a year and a half
Been over a
almost.
year and a half since that
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
and you see how quickly it almost came right back up again.
yeah.
So that's why it's important. Like this is a marathon, man. The healing is a marathon.
Mhm.
Dealing with this is a marathon. It will continue to go, but you continue to grow and you continue to understand yourself. You continue to grow within yourself and know who you are. Believe in yourself and know exactly who you are. Know how much you matter. Know how strong you are
Yeah.
and how capable you are of turning away certain bad habits that'll lead down a specific road and continue to build yourself through the healthy and good habits that you create.
Yes. Yes. That
That's
and
powerful.
that's exactly what it was in that moment. And recognizing what was happening, I ultimately knew and
Mm,
understood I had a choice.
mm,
And I think that's
wow.
where we forget.
Yeah.
Grief is gonna come like any
Mm,
other event in your life, and things are gonna come and be there. But you have a
mm,
choice. The power of choice is
mm.
huge.
Would you say your life is just a conglomerate or a series of choices?
Absolutely.
Mm,
Which ultimately dictates the direction that we shape our
that's
reality. We
absolutely
shape we
true.
shape our universe.
Yeah.
I always say, I'm only asking the universe to bring to me what's for me. I'm sure you probably heard me say that
Yep.
a lot,
Yep.
but the reality of that is me understanding that my universe. the universe, I say, is really an interpretation of what my state of being is, my mind.
Right.
So if I'm saying that's what I'm asking for, that's what I go get. So that's what I'm welcoming in, the energy I'm bringing into my life. Like, if I say I'm looking to go to the store, get a bag of chips, it's not just going to come to me on its own. I got to go to the store, get it, but I got to know what type of chips I want. What's the flavor that I'm looking for? I got to know what's for me and what I need. So like I approach that perspective to not allow myself to gravitate and just take anything that's coming into my trajectory, but to do the work so that I can recognize in those instances what is for me, for my growth at this point, what makes sense for me. And that's what I'm doing in every aspect of my life. Just trying to grow. For me, it's I'm not trying to fast track anything else in my life that I've been through.
Sure.
I know that I'm in a place where I got to continue to heal enough in different areas of my life. And as you said, it's just a marathon. Will I ever really know if I'm at a place someday for different things? I hope so. I hope so. I don't have the answer to that today,
Right.
but I'm willing to do the work, and I'm going to do the work. So if those events maybe, the aspirations is what I have for me for growth,
Sure.
come to me through my universe because I earned it and I went seeking it and I brought it inward too. I'll accept it for what it is because then I know I'm ready at that point.
Does it ever get easier, man?
Good question.
I'm full of them.
Jay always brings it, man.
I don't know, man.
Hell of a good question. Ooh, yeah. You think it's a simple answer to that? From my experience, and even as of now and as of late, the truth of it is it only gets, you can only adjust it as you go along, like gauges of a level, like a video game. That's how I see it. You adjust the level, the intensity. So right now, my specter is ranging on that very difficult mode, and I'm like, oh damn. All right, I've become seasoned in my growth, but it's still all new to me because this William C before is new. I'm learning me now for the first time in my life. I'm really learning me. Like a baby. Like it's crazy as they may sound. It feels like that sometimes.
I mean, that's kin to what we were talking about. I think it was yesterday where it's like, I feel as though life is about discovery, man. You're starting over as a toddler, and actually perfect example because when you're a baby, and I mean this is actually the best example, man.
Yep.
When you're a baby, you first start you start learning how to crawl, right? You understand what these do and what your knees do and how you can get yourself from point A to point B. Babies are able to figure that out just by experimentation.
Yeah.
And then what happens next is beautiful. It's the fact that they stand up, right? To try to walk, they fall right back on their butt.
Yeah.
Do it again, fall right back on their butt. They do this over and over and over and over again until they are able to take steps. Then they can take steps and actually it'll look like somebody walking rather than a tipsy-turvy sort of drunk guy waddle, right? And then after that, they get to the point where they're running and now you can't keep up with them because they're running all over the house. They're opening doors. They're doing all sorts of craziness. So why not take this approach as an adult? Why not build habits that way? Build it knowing that you're going to continuously fail. Build it knowing that there's going to be a time where you're going to get to the stage where you're walking, right? You're crawling now. You're in the baby stages, but there's going to be a point. It's inevitable. You're going to walk.
Yeah.
And when you get there, then you're going to run. Then you're going to be sprinting. You're going to become used to doing things that you constantly do over and over again. Imagine if a baby had the sort of mentality that a lot of adults have, where they're like, well, I fell on my butt, so I guess I'm just going to sit here. I don't care to walk. I'm not going to walk. Look, walking isn't for me.
Yeah.
Look, my father, my mother, they didn't walk, right? So, I mean, walking isn't in my blood. It's not in my DNA. So I'm just going to sit on my butt. I've fallen now 20 times today.
That's deep.
I'm not going to walk.
A lot of people do reference that. Well, my mother and my father was like that, or
they were like,
this is just how it is.
That's all I know. This is what I'm used to.
That's all I know.
This is what it is.
That's deep.
But babies don't give a damn about that, bro. They fall to get right back up. No questions asked. They don't sit there and get right back up. Fall right on my butt, get right back up.
Yeah.
Each and every time to get right back up. So do not give up. continue to push, continue to strive to be a better you,
Yeah,
because you are so damn worth it, man.
you really
You
are.
are so damn worth it.
You really are. We all are,
Wow.
guys. We all are.
Mm. This is a very powerful one, man.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thank you for being able to go to those depths with me today, and with these beautiful people here who are watching this, or listening to this in your car or wherever you are in the world.
Mhm.
We appreciate you taking this Sunday out to hear it, because this was a powerful message. It's a message based on experience,
Mhm.
and it's also solution based, because that is what we at Chromis are all about. We want we want you to see those results that you deserve. We want you to stay in that positive being,
Mhm.
because God damn, there's no better feeling than that, bro. There's
Absolutely.
no better feeling than that.
Yes.
Once you're there, once it's part of your life, once you're living it, you will see. You will just feel 100% different than you may be feeling now. And for those of you who are out there who have been able to deal with an emotionally painful situation and have overcome that situation to become better in life, to understand who you are, we want to know exactly how you did it. Again, if you're listening right now, what has been the most emotionally painful situation in your life that you have had to overcome, and how did you overcome it? If you tell us this story, and if you've been on this podcast from the beginning to the end, we appreciate you for staying on. If you can tell us this story, you can send us to a DM. You can email us
Mhm.
at theachromis@gmail.com. You can send it us through a DM on IG, on Facebook, wherever you listen to your
On
podcasts,
YouTube.
on YouTube as well. We are literally everywhere, guys.
Yes.
So we want you to let us know what the story is, and we will be able to feature you within our community. This would be a perfect community outreach segment for anybody who's going through something, to be able to have a community around you that's there to support you, there to walk with you, to hold your hand, to love on you. I think that is the most important thing for you, especially if you're going through something like grief. It's important that this is not something that you go through with yourself. Have those who are around you, who love you, who care for you, understand what those stages look like, and how to get to the next stage, how to get to that stage of acceptance, how to understand to constantly overcome it and deal with it, because it's always going to be present, but it's about the choice that you make to continue to overcome it.
Mhm.
So we want to leave you with that, y'all. Again, if you don't know how to find us now, if you are new to this podcast, we will not hold it against you.
Uh-huh.
But if you've been listening, I mean, what is wrong with you? What is really wrong with you? You need to be checked out, because you have not checked out ACHROMOUS,
Mhm.
Acromis, the
Absolutely.
Acromis podcast. We are on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. You
Where
hit
else?
that subscribe button, you'll be able to hear us, listen to us, see us every single Sunday with new episodes. We are on Spotify.
But let's make sure to let them know when
Go
you
ahead.
subscribe, it's free.
It's
It's
free.
not charging you. Guys, this
No.
is will allow us to outreach to others as well with your help.
Christ.
With your help. So
It's
the more people,
free.
so it's free.
It's free.
It's free. It's like
It's
a it's
free.
free.
You gotta be kidding
You
me,
can't beat
man.
that.
God, what is free in America? What is free in America? You're getting free. How long have we been giving this for free? 18 episodes. Are you
So
kidding
yeah, we've
me?
been pushing about
Free?
for quite a while now.
Jesus.
It's free, guys.
My
So please
God.
make sure to hit that subscribe button
Hit
on
it.
YouTube. It'll
No.
definitely allow us to reach others. It'll give you a
Unbelievable.
notification when we're sending new
Yes.
content to you.
That's
That's
important.
very
You
important. So
want to
you'll
know
get
when
it.
you want to know when it's
You
coming.
got to know when it's coming. We
Yes.
tell you when it's coming,
We do.
but you're always on your phone,
Yep.
so it'll show
Always.
you. And then at that
Always.
point, the next logical thing to do is to hit that subscribe button,
Yes.
and then word of mouth. If you have
Absolutely.
folks that you know personally that you feel as though they can use some of these gems or resonate with it,
Yep.
please share it. Put the word out there. Share us. You know where our content is.
Yep.
We're everywhere.
We are literally
We are
everywhere.
everywhere, and we're looking to expand that too. So
Absolutely.
definitely, guys,
Yep.
allow us to help other people, especially in instances like this. Like this is this right here, like Jay said, is such a powerful episode in ways
Wow.
that
It
I don't
was.
think I didn't imagine, and I'm sure Jay didn't
I did
imagine, and
not
I'm sure
either.
you guys
No.
didn't because I
No.
didn't see that coming. I didn't
Right.
feel it, but as
Hmm.
always, we are our authentic selves. and we do care about what we're saying and what we're giving out. We'll never speak out of content with what we can't relate to.
That's facts.
This is just who we are to our core.
Yep.
And we believe if you stayed along here to watch, to view, to understand what we're going through, what we've been through, our journeys, you're a part of that as well. And
Yep.
we care. We have nothing but love, and we want to spread that out with you. So please, Mental Health Awareness Month, guys.
Mm-hmm.
If not any other time, please use that button and any other avenues that you know that we support content on to share this information with people, because this is the sort of movement we need to have pushed out there, albeit subject to the things that we see that is really irrelevant to what's important in life.
Yep.
Moments like this is what you need to get out, because you could save a life.
Yep.
You can make a difference. True. And this is where I'm coming at with this.
Mm-hmm.
So please, guys, it would mean so much if you can do that. If you could really spread the word and just share our joy and share our movement of what we're giving. Absolutely. We're giving this information out free of charge.
Free of charge. I can't believe this is so free. Unbelievable.
If you're really about this movement, and it's not just something you look at and you just like for the fun of it.
Yeah.
Let's do this the right way.
Be about it.
Be about it, and let's get that movement out there so we can help people and save lives.
Absolutely. And I think in terms of saving lives and being able to discover who we are on this constant movement forward, I think it is important that we share with them how to actually discover themselves.
Yes.
Right. There are a lot of people out there who are lost. They don't know exactly who they are. They don't know where they're supposed to be, where they fit in. And I know there's a lot of information out there. The thing about the internet, the beauty and the beast, if you will, part of it is that there's so much information, but then there's also so much information.
Yes.
What information do you know that you could take in? What information do you know that you need to push aside because it's not for you? Look, next Sunday, we will be here again, as we always are.
Yes.
And we will show you exactly how you can discover yourself. I mean, that is a gem. And again, I cannot believe this is free.
Yeah.
This is all free.
Yeah.
It's free on YouTube. It's free on Spotify. It's free on IG. It's free on Facebook. It's free anywhere that you can hear a podcast. This is for you. We want you to grow. We want you to grow. And we want you to grow with us. As we grow, you grow. As we begin to discover ourselves and continue discovering who we are, we want you to do the exact same. So, ladies and gentlemen, until next Sunday, it is your boy, J.H. Gibbons.
And I'm Will C.
Peace.